So I just think that it all boils down to a bad deal negotiated on his behalf or by him and his team or whoever's the boss or whatever, and that's the result of what we're getting. And this is just him hitting the reset button for a redo when they come back to the table, which I personally don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
Yes, Ring Kings podcast is back. We are here with another one. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. If you're listening to this on Monday, well, you're either listening or you're watching on Monday because they both come out on Monday, either on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. So thank you for joining us. I am here with my brothers, Brodny and Mr. OTR Mike. How's it going, gentlemen?
I mean, it's not going great. Like this, I don't want to be here discussing this. This is depressing.
Well, first, before we get into that, before we get into that, quick apology to our listeners for last week. If you're looking for an episode and it did not come out, it's out there. It's just not on the Ring Kings the Ring Kings podcast. I accidentally put out the episode on our other show, Lunch Break Hot Take. So if you look, quick plug, shameless plug, if you want to go over to check out our other sports channel, Lunch Break Hot Take, there is an episode. I left it up there. I was going to take it down, put it over here, but I said, you know what, I'm going to leave it over there. And I will put out some extra episodes for today. So this is one of the episodes, and then I'm going to put out another one, or maybe two. We'll see. But you'll get some bonus content for Monday. All right. So, yes, we are here to discuss. I'm sure most of you, if you are, if you're following Bud Crawford, you've been, following what's going on. We discussed how the fight between him and Errol Spence has been, pushed back at the very least. It may not happen. But Bud Crawford decided to talk about it, and he put out an IG Live, a 20-minute IG Live. I mean, I have a couple of clips here. We'll go over a couple of clips, and if you want to look through the whole thing, be my guest. Try to decipher what he's saying, but yeah, I mean, we're going to give our thoughts on it. But yeah, gentlemen, I'll start with you guys. Like, whoever wants to take it. What are your initial thoughts about it? Well, I guess do we want to decipher what he said? Like, give it like a synopsis of what he said.
Yeah. Just roll with the clips and then get everybody in the right frame of mind for this conversation.
So essentially, he's explaining why the deal went down the way it went down. So if you don't know, him and Errol Spence were negotiating the fight. The negotiations broke down. He ended up taking the fight with David Avanesyan on BLK Prime, Bud. BLK Prime. All right. And I'm saying Bud's name because he didn't remember the name of the company that's paying him to do this fight. And of course, everybody's wondering, where did this come from? Because nobody's ever heard of BLK Prime. In fact, our last episode that you listened to, we had to look it up. Right? It's a an app for amateur boxing, right? So that kind of confused me. Right? It's supposed to be for amateur boxers, but they signed Bud Crawford, they signed Adrian Broner. So I don't know how that works. I don't know. It seemed weird. So this is supposed to be him explaining how everything went down. And look, I'm gonna play the first clip, and and we'll discuss that. All right. Here we go.
All in all, I have two companies, that reach out to me that, wanted to give me and Spence $25 million guaranteed. $25 million guaranteed up front. So, a real guy like myself, I call Spence. Hey, bro, look, listen. You know what I mean? I got this company that's willing to give us $25 million a piece, guaranteed. What's up? What you gonna do? He like, 25 million. What about the back end? I'm like, dude, listen. If they make their money back, then we get 80-20. You know what I mean? It's simple math. I said, man, we got people all still in the fight. They got the fire sticks. He laughed. He like, man, I got a fire stick too. I'm like, see? I'm like, man, ain't nobody really buying, you know what I mean, pay-per-views no more. I said, man, we get this upfront money and we good. It's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. No-brainer. Okay.
No-brainer.
Okay, so let's decipher what he said there. And again, I encourage you to go out there. I mean, you just Google, look on YouTube, wherever. The clip will come up. Lots of people have posted a clip. It's about 20 minutes. You can listen to the whole thing, full context. Okay, this is us breaking down, trying to interpret what he said. You know, if you have a different opinion, please put it in the comments. Put it in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on it. You know, we're just giving you our thoughts on it. But look, basically, he got an offer. He didn't even say who it was from, right? He just said he'll say later that it came from 2 hedge funds, right? I think that's in the other clip that I'm going to post. But hey, you got an offer on the table for $25 million a piece, right? No brainer here, right? Errol Spence says, yeah, well, what about the back end? Meaning, what about the pay-per-view points, right? Because yes, you get that money up front. That's your purse, right? And then you get points off the pay-per-view. However many you sell, you get a percentage of those sales, right? But Crawford is like, why are you worried about that? Right? You're getting 25 million up front. He says, hey, if the investors get their money back, it's 80-20 split. I'm guessing he means, you know, they get 80% of the pay-per-view sales after they make their money back. Right? You know, I don't know, right? I don't know about that. But I got the feeling from watching the clip that Bud Crawford is somebody that's just not used to making money off of pay-per-view sales, right? He didn't sell. I'm not even sure if any of his fights were on pay-per-view, to be honest. I think every fight that I've seen him fight was on ESPN Plus, right? So I don't know if he's actually experienced that. He probably has. I don't know. But Errol Spence sells, okay? Like he's not getting, a million pay-per-view buys or anything like that, but he sells solid numbers. So he absolutely going to ask for that part of it. And he's just like, look, man, 25 million, no brainer. Okay. So that's what he's saying right there. What are your guys' thoughts on that first clip?
Listen. It sounds like a guy. I mean, you basically touched on it, but it sounds like a guy for the first time being in charge of negotiations for his brand or whatever you want to call it. And 20 again, you pointed to it as well. It's well documented that Bud has not made for as good as he is. I don't want anybody to take this wrong. For as good as he is, Bud is not known to be what they call box office, right?
Right.
He doesn't. He's not a household name, even though he is really good. He's not a household name, and I think that was part of the beef with him and Bob Arum, right? He didn't feel like Bob was doing enough, which we agree with. So he when you're not box office, right, you don't make as much money as somebody as talented as he is could and should be making.
Right.
So I think that's what he's gone through. And now he's trying to, as he said, get the bag. Now somebody calls you and say, hey, I got 25 million guaranteed up front. That's, of course, the most money he's ever seen, right, in the fight or to get paid for a fight. So, of course, to him, it's a no-brainer, right? Now, Errol Spence, it'll be the most he's ever seen for a single fight. But I think Errol has made again, well documented, has made more money than Bud. He is more of a pay-per-view draw than Bud. He understands that, as you said, the back end of the thing of that, you know, he understands it's just more than talking of this amount of money, right? Anybody can call and say that. You saying it's hedge funds, you know, Spence came out to say, hey, like all money ain't good money. You know, we don't know what the situation is. Then you talking about if the company makes their money back, that's 50 million. They weren't gonna make 50 million off of this fight. Right. So I guess it's just, to me, it's just a dose of reality that needs to set in for Bud on this situation. Like, he really just doesn't. He looks like a guy that just doesn't know what he's doing, handling the business side. And I'm not mad at him for wanting to control everything. You know, a la Floyd and all of those guys who have done it. But they also had a good team around them. And it seems like Bud needs to get a good team around him to help him in situations like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned the issues that he had with Bob Arum and not not being promoted the way he wanted to be promoted. You know, maybe not getting some of the fights that he wanted to get that would have gotten his name out there more, would have made him some more money. And you know, I had agreed with that previously, but he's in charge now, right? He's running everything himself, as he mentioned in the IG live. He is a boss, right? And who's he fighting? He's fighting David Avanesyan. Nobody cares about that fight. Nobody's going to watch that fight. You know, and it's set up for the same day as a bigger fight in Teofimo Lopez and Jose Pedraza, and a better card. You know, they have a lot of top prospects on that card. Nobody's going to see your fight against the 12th or 13th contender in the welterweight division on BLK Prime's app. You know, so you know, he could have taken bigger fights. He could have fought, you know, Boots Ennis. He could have fought Keith Thurman. He could have fought, I can't say the guy's name, Stenonius. He could have fought Virgil Ortiz, any number of guys, but he chose to take what should be an easier fight for him, and a fight that nobody really cares about. Nobody wants to see. But yeah, I think he probably is looking at it and saying, yeah, this is the most money I've ever made. Let's go ahead and get that guaranteed and let's get this moving. But I mean, like I said, who even knows who these people are who are offering him this money, whether they could deliver on that offer or not. And which is why when he contacted Al Heyman about it, Al Heyman said, I'm not letting anybody touch this fight. So.
Okay, my bad. I was muted. Yeah, so I was trying to look up BLK Prime, because when I looked it up before, it said amateur boxing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you Google BLK Prime, it's I guess for Apple users, it's something. It's not boxing, right? They stream. I'm not sure.
It's like, when I looked it up, it has sports, it has movies, it has like all types of things like that. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like a, you know, like
this
a
says
Netflix.
Yeah, this says we provide easily accessible, on-demand, original multicultural movies and TV series to inspire and entertain diverse audiences worldwide. Right now, you go over to the Twitter side. When I first looked it up, BLK Prime on Twitter.
It's BLK Prime Boxing.
Boxing. Okay. Yeah. All right. I found it. BLK Prime Boxing. They changed. They changed it a little bit now. It's not just advertising the fight with Crawford and Avanesyan. But the first time I went to it, it said it was an amateur boxing app. So, needless to say, it's not the most reputable of platforms, right? So, yes, that's going to be a little weird. And of course, Errol Spence is going to ask, what's up with this? Like, where's this money coming from? Right? How are they coming up with this money? Who's backing this? Like, how's the pay-per-views gonna work, right? Yeah, okay, 25 million might be the most he's ever seen, but the thing with Errol Spence is he's still looking to make more, right?
Mhm.
Like,
As it should be. It's one of the biggest fights in boxing
yeah,
in terms of the quality of the matchup.
right.
You know, so they should both be looking to make as much money as they possibly can on this fight.
I think the two of them making 50 million each is not out of the realm of possibility. You just had Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk make 75 mil apiece, right, up front.
Mhm.
And granted, yes, they are heavyweights, and they're going to sell more. But Errol Spence and Bud Crawford, they're reputable fighters. More so, Errol Spence, right? And it's about building it up. You can make more money than just that 25 million. I'm positive you can. And I'm sure that's what Al Heyman's looking at. It's just like, no, you gotta know when people are trying to scam you. This looks like a scam. So
Yeah, because where is the fight going to be broadcast? What's the marketing for the fight going to look like and all that? It's not just about are they going to write you a big enough check up front? Like there's a whole process that goes into putting on the fight.
yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm gonna play this second clip here, and he explains when he went to talk to Al Heyman because Spence is not his own boss, like he himself is.
He didn't call me back, so I proposed it to Al. I hit up Al. I'm like, Al, listen, man, I got this big hedge fund company out here. They claim they know you. Not one, but two. Not one, but two. Two companies willing to put 20 plus million in both of our pocket, guaranteed. Al tell me straight up, I'm not letting nobody touch this fight. Like, all right, cool. But I'm like, why? He like, why would you want to put a ceiling on yourself? Why you want to put a cap on yourself? I'm like, well, that's not putting a cap on myself. If this company is taking a risk, then, high risk, high reward.
Now, at the very end there, I think is the major disconnect, right? He said the company's taking a risk, right? And he looks at it that way because that's the most money that somebody's offered him up front. And look, he had a bad. I understand, but right, Bob Arum did not do him any favors managing his career. So it's just a lack of trust. But that's not how Al Heyman and Errol Spence are thinking, right? He said, why would you put a cap on what you can make? There's no risk with Errol Spence, with the Errol Spence fight. There's no risk. Like they're the show, right? What's his nickname, Mikey? The Big Fish, right?
The Big Fish.
The Big Fish. They believe that they're a major draw. So they're like, risk. There's no risk. You got to pay a premium for us. So that's the cost, right? But I just don't think Bud understands that. And this is his first time on his own. It's unfortunate. I don't know anything about his camp. I don't know who's managing him or working with him because he's his own boss. He said that quite a few times in the 20-minute clip, is that he's a boss. Errol's not a boss. He got to go to Al Heyman, and Al's not negotiating in good faith. So that's why like basically Al Heyman gave him an ultimatum, and that's why that's why he decided to take the David Avanesyan fight. And then afterward, he did say after that fight they can come back to the table. So that's his intention.
Yeah, look, again, that's just another clip that pointed out his lack of experience in negotiating his own deals. He took what Al was saying as him being greedy. Like, I'm not letting anybody take this fight. Why would you put a cap on yourself? But I feel like that is great advice, right? Like 25 million, right? Yeah, they're giving you 25 million up front. But again, what if it does sell 50 million, over 50 million, right? And then all of that money on the back end. So then you telling me the people getting if the company gets their money back, right? So that means they made 50 million, right? And then it goes for above that, then that means they getting their money and then some, and you just coming away with your 25 million. Now, of course, that's a lot of money, but um, I don't know. Yeah, he's just like look, I like Bud, right? And I want to see. I like when boxers try to take control of their situations because a lot of times we spoke on this show before plenty of times about how promoters get in the way of some marquee fights happening, and it's just a mess for the game. But um, I also don't want to see him getting raw deals because he so much or so badly wants to be the boss, which he can be the boss, right? You can have people negotiating on your behalf, but they got to bring the offers to you, and you say yay or nay. Like that's okay. Just have a good team around you. Be the boss. That's fine, but just have a good team around you. I personally feel like Bud negotiated this deal, and then I feel like at the last minute he did speak to somebody, maybe a lawyer, because on that clip he talks about having a lawyer. Somebody saw that contract that he agreed to with the non-guaranteed, supposedly non-guaranteed, and they told him this is a bad deal.
Yeah.
And I think the last minute he got out of this deal. He went and took a fight where he's gonna make the most money that he's ever made, supposedly. So I just think that it all boils down to a bad deal negotiated on his behalf or by him and his team or whoever's the boss or whatever, and that's the result of what we're getting. And this is just him hitting the reset button for a redo when they come back to the table, which I personally don't think we're going to see it anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean that's it kind of feels that way. Like you said, the rumor out there was that he agreed to take a percentage of the net revenue, right?
Yeah.
And or I guess the net profit, I guess. And there was no guarantee in terms of a dollar amount, and that's why he was they were kind of going back and forth about him wanting transparency. And well, actually, no, it wasn't even the net. I think it was the gross. And so he wanted to or was it the net? Yeah. So it was. I think it was the net, and he wanted transparency into how they were spending their money, right? So that they couldn't kind of do what colleges and universities do in football and say, hey, we got all this money, and then well, we spent all this money,
We
so we
spent
didn't
it.
make
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a terrible deal if that's what he agreed to, right? And now he's got somebody, just random people who got his phone number. I don't know, guaranteeing him $25 million up front, and he probably feels a lot more secure with that. And it just, I don't know, the way he kind of explained it on on the Instagram live, the feeling I came away with was the fight would go on, and then after the fight, you would see Bud Crawford in court trying to get his money. Yeah, that's the impression that I got from the way that he was kind of talking about it. You know what I mean?
That's what I thought about too. I was just like, when he couldn't answer. I mean, look, maybe he has an answer. He didn't say it on the IG live, but it seems like when they were asking him questions about these hedge funds and whatnot, he didn't have any clear answers as to who's actually paying the money, and it seemed like one of those things where just like, it seems like a scam, right?
Mm-hmm.
He spun it as if Al Heyman was saying, hey, nobody else is going to get in on this deal except for me, right? And even that I can respect, right? Hey, I'm negotiating with my side and your side. We're not bringing in a third party, right? But yeah, even with BLK Prime, even with this deal with BLK Prime, there's some rumors about who's backing it and all that stuff. But where are you getting this money from, right? Because I'm trying to do some research on them. Like even their Twitter site, 700 followers. You know what I'm saying? I don't even see them on Android, right? I'm not sure if you can download it on Android. I guess it's Apple exclusive. So if you do want to see this fight, how do you watch it? Like that's my question. Because there was another. He said it in the first clip when he was talking to Errol about not worrying about the pay-per-view buys because people steal fights. You know, I don't know who does that over here. You know, we are stand-up citizens on this channel. I can guarantee you that. But he talked about, hey, people got the fire sticks, you know, they stream stuff, and Errol admitted like, yeah, I got a fire stick too, this and that. Like, see, you know, people ain't really buying pay-per-views like that anymore. That's what he said. People ain't really buying pay-per-views like that anymore. So don't worry about it. And to me, that sounds like somebody that just isn't used to selling fights. Because yes, people do stream. Like, people have always bootlegged. That's not a new phenomenon that came along with the internet. People always found ways to bootleg stuff.
Yeah.
So that's always been a factor, but that doesn't mean you don't make money off of pay-per-views. So in his situation, man, like I think he wanted to take what he thought was a secure bag, and it might be. I don't know anything about these people, but I don't know how that helps him in terms of his reputation and in terms of his exposure, because that's important too. So.
Yeah, just a little information on BLK Prime. You can get it on Apple, Android, Roku, Fire TV, Apple TV. It is a subscription site for $3.99 a month, and I guess you have access to their movies and their other content. One thing I do like about what I see here is, unlike some of these other sites, it does say in bold letters that the Crawford fight is not included with the regular subscription below. So they making it clear that you're not getting it for $3.99. But yeah, so it is $3.99 a month, and yeah, you can download it on those platforms.
All right. Okay. So not knowing much about them, hey, maybe it's one of these things. If it's black owned, hey, salute to them, right? Salute to them. You're trying to get your app out there, and I ain't got no problem with that, right? And you got the fight, so hopefully this helps you guys out. I think it's more of a benefit to them than it is to Bud Crawford. Yeah, yes, Crawford is getting some money, but who's watching the fight? Like, you go do the fight, nobody watches it. How does that help your bargaining power if Errol goes in and takes a fight with what's his name, Stenosis or Boots Ennis, one of those type of fights? How does that help your negotiating power? I think it lessens it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm looking at BLK Prime as well. They said they have about $5 million in revenue, in gross revenue. You know, they have investors, obviously, but it's not a, you know, the deal that they signed with Adrian Broner was a 3-fight deal for $10 million. So, you know, a bit over $3 million per fight. The Bud Crawford thing is a 1-fight deal, right? And you know, I think that it feels like they're really banking on being able to pay him by selling a ton of pay-per-views. You know, like selling a ton of pay-per-views for that particular fight, because it doesn't seem like they just have the money on hand.
Yeah,
you know, to kind of just say, hey, you know, we're offering you X million up front. That's what you're going to make no matter what, blah, blah, blah. And so, you know, and if they're worried or if they're looking to pay him off by selling the fight, I don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think you're going to get that many sales for a Bud Crawford versus David Avanesyan fight on an app that most people have never heard of.
I hope that's not the case for everybody involved. Because listen, we support black-owned businesses, right? As long as it's on the up and up. But I hope this isn't the case, man. I hope, you know, they do have some investors that can give him a secure amount of money, and whether they make their money back or not, he gets paid. Okay, maybe the investors don't make their money back, but you know, there's a positive out of it. They do get more, you know, subscribers and things like that, and it helps them down the road, right? Because look, let's say I invested in BLK Prime, right? and I put up the money for this fight, and I don't see the return right away. That's fine, right? Because you still got Adrian Broner that's got a 3-fight deal. Maybe you get some other people to sign up for that, right? Maybe you get some more fighters to sign up on it, and you start to recoup your money over time. Hopefully, that's the thinking. Hopefully, I would hate to see a situation where, like B said, they're banking on them selling enough fights for this one to pay them. That would be a disaster. Because I don't think people are going. I mean, like I said, I just never heard of them, and people aren't going to download an app for one fight.
Right, and I think it's just, you know, the idea of, well, we're going to have Bud Crawford on the app, and that's what's going to get people to download it, and then hopefully X percentage of those people sign up for a monthly subscription, I think is a little bit of a pipe dream. You know, the people are there for the fight, right? And from what I can tell, there's not a lot of original content on the app in terms of movies and TV shows and things like that. It's from what I can tell, is mostly just older stuff that they kind of licensed, right? And why am I going to sign up and pay you money to see old stuff?
Man, I just look. Look, I want our listeners, viewers, subscribers. Let us know what you think. Please leave your comments and let us know what you think about this. This seems like a whole mess. It does not look good on our, for us. It does not look good for Bud Crawford, right? It seems like, I believe Bud Crawford, by the way. I want you guys to know that. I believe Bud Crawford negotiated this thing by himself. That's what it looks like, right? And that's not a good thing, right? And he just made it a point throughout that 20-minute clip to let everybody know he's his own boss. Errol got to go through Al. Al's his boss, and this is and that. Like that's a diss. It's not a diss. Al is very smart, right? Al negotiate. I mean, look, he runs PBC. He obviously, he works closely with Floyd Mayweather. Every fighter, most of the fighters I know have nothing but good things to say about Al Heyman. So he knows how to get fighters their money. And if that's your business partner or manager, promoter, whatever, it would behoove you to go consult with him on stuff like this, because this isn't Bud didn't say, hey, Showtime got a bag for us. HBO got a bag for us, right? He didn't come out there and say that. He said BLK, or not even BLK Prime. He just said 2 hedge funds got a bag for us. Well, who are they? Man, don't worry about that, man. They got the money. Nah. That's just shady, right? Okay, look, I want to play these other 2 clips. They're real short, and this is another reason why I don't feel good about this, because Bud doesn't seem to even know what platform he's fighting on. So let's take a listen.
So, y'all mad at me for going to get a bag? When did that ever happen? Y'all mad at me for going to get a bag? Come on, man. We're going to turn up with BLK Prime. You know what I mean? We're going to do our thing, man. We stepping up to the plate, man. They turning boxing around, man. All the biggest fights, you know what I mean, going through them.
All the biggest fights going through whatever it is. All the biggest fights are going through them. Him and Adrian Broner. Those are the biggest fights in boxing, I guess. And he said it with a big smile on his face, like he didn't believe a word of what he's saying. And if you didn't hear him that time, right? Because he messed it up. He knew he messed it up. He said, all right, I'm going to get it right again. Take 2.
December 10th, you know what I mean? Tune in to BLK Prime. Black Prime, baby. We in the building. Tune in, y'all. If y'all don't, you know what I mean? Y'all some haters. If y'all do, you know what I mean? It is what it is, man. Support the kid.
Listen, if you don't support whatever platform he was trying to get out, because he didn't know what it was, Black Prime, baby. If you don't support, you're a hater. Okay? And if
You're a
you do
hater.
support, then it is what it is. He didn't say you're not a hater. He just says it is what it is.
Yeah.
This is why you have people. This is why you have promoters. This is why you have managers. This is why you have people that handle this stuff for you. You are a great boxer. That is your craft. You are a genius at that. That is your lane. Not everybody can be a businessman. Everybody wants to be Floyd Mayweather. Not everybody can be Floyd Mayweather on that side, right? Great boxer and great businessman. Not everybody has that acumen. Those are two separate things. It's fine if you don't. Nobody expects you to. You just have to have a good team around you. And even with Floyd, he's always had Al Heyman in his corner. He didn't negotiate all this stuff on his own, right? So learn from that, man. Don't just go out there and say, "Hey, I'm a boss. I'm a boss," right? You sound weak when you say that.
Mm.
Yeah, look, this is going to be a big test for him, right? This will be. I don't know if he was talking about this situation being a low risk, high reward, but I think it is a risky move, right? But I think it can pay off for him if it works. It's risky from the sense that what y'all already stated, right? That it's an app that nobody really knows about. You know, you don't know what kind of telecast they're going to put on, who's going to be called. Like, all of those things are important. The undercard, who's calling the fight, right? That also is important. And
The
drawing
venue.
people in. Yeah, the
I don't
venue.
even know where they're fighting.
He's they're fighting in Omaha, his
Okay.
hometown.
Right. And is it gonna be all amateurs on the undercard? Because you only have
Right.
2 pro fighters signed.
Right. So that,
where in Omaha are they fighting?
I don't know. He's fought in Omaha before, but it's risky because he's got to sell it right now, and if he doesn't sell it, it's going to be a knock against him, right? He's now going to be looked at as, okay, look, you're not the big fish, right? So, in future negotiations against him, it's going to be, those things are going to be considered if it is a pay-per-view event. Now, if it works, right? If he's able to put this app on the market and put it in homes and get a lot of buys, if it works, then it may pay off for him in the long run in multiple ways. Again, he can go to the table again and say, "Hey, man, look, I put an unknown app on the map, from me fighting."
Yes.
Or he can sign a long-term deal with them or whatever if it all works out, So it is a risky move, and if it pays off, it can pay off well for him. We'll just have to see. But the microscope will be on him in those numbers of how well he does when he sells this fight.
Well, and I think the question you have to come back to when you're determining that is, are there even enough people who care to watch Bud Crawford fight to make it a success?
That's what we're gonna find out.
If every person who's interested in a Bud Crawford fight, and just a Bud Crawford fight, because nobody's tuning in for David Avanesyan, right? If every single one of them orders this fight, is that enough to make it a success? I'm not sure that it is.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's it's just been the knock on him, right? And I'm sure him as a boxer, him as a fighter, he knows how good he is. He knows he's a great fighter, and I doubt that he believes that he is not box office, right? I mean, and I get it, but humbling yourself in those moments is I'd rather you humble yourself than somebody humble you, right? And you get humbled by these numbers, and then people talk bad about you. But it's like we said before, it's documented, right? Bob Arum has come out and said, I lose more money with Bud than I get, right?
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that meant, right? Clearly he was saying, and that was the start of the straining of their relationship, obviously. So it's just documented that he's just not known to be a big sell. And there's a lot of good fighters, great fighters who just aren't. Now we grew up in the Mike Tyson, Mike Tyson pay-per-view era. Then we saw Floyd, right? So that Floyd, people look at Floyd as the bar, and that's the mistake. Like, you're not going to do Floyd numbers, right? You're just not going to do that. Canelo comes, I guess, kind of close, but I think even compared to Floyd, those numbers are, it's good, but compared to Floyd, it's regular.
Yeah.
So depending on what that bar is set at, right? Because I mean, typically a solid pay-per-view is what, 200, 250 buys, 250K,
something like that.
buys.
Yeah.
I can't see that. That's a lot of buys, right? that's a lot of purchases. Now, I do like how BLK is doing this. It's $39 and not $74 or $75. So that's a good start. Maybe that'll draw people into trying it out. But we will learn a lot from this in about a month. So we'll see.
It's cool that it's a lower price. It is. But you also gotta keep in mind that price points they serve multiple purposes. Obviously, you're trying to generate a certain amount of income or a certain amount of revenue with your price point, but it's also, companies set price point to communicate value to consumers, right?
Yeah.
So, and this is in video games a lot, right? Like the top games cost $70, like the base version of them. And then, so if your game comes out at $40, people know that, oh, well, you didn't put as much money into this game. You didn't put as much development time into this game. And I should have lowered expectations for what I'm going to get if I buy this game. Yeah. And you, if you're not careful, you can have that kind of same effect, when you're pricing a pay-per-view. Every single pay-per-view out there is $75, whether it's worth it or not, whether it even should be on pay-per-view or not. So if you come out and you say, okay, well, ours is $40, and you're headlining with Bud Crawford, who's not a huge draw, that could communicate to fans, this is not going to be the kind of production that you're used to, so lower your expectations coming in. The other part of it is, when you do lower it to $40, you got to sell a lot more than you have to sell at $75 to make that same amount of money. So, you ideally, like you mentioned, Canelo, he sells a lot, right? He's one of the higher grossing fighters out there. Gervonta has a huge following. Obviously Tyson Fury and these guys. Ideally, if you were going to try to build your app audience off of a boxer, it would be one of those guys, not somebody who's on the lower end who's still trying to come up themselves.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think so. Here's my thing. Yeah, Bob Arum did say, like, he lost money with Bud. I don't like Bob Arum. I already told you how I feel about him and how he manages black fighters. I don't think he does a good job with them. I don't think he's interested in them. I think he could have done a much better job with Bud Crawford. There's nothing about Bud that you can't sell, right? He could have absolutely he could be much bigger than he is now. Now, he got Bud off to a very bad start in his career in terms of his star power, right? But man, if we're being honest, Bud should have just signed with Al Heyman. He should have, right? Going the solo route, I respect it, but you gotta know what you're doing. So you're there now. You're your own boss, and the negligence. Nobody's going to excuse that. Like you, this is what you wanted. You're negotiating now, and people are watching in real time. You make mistakes. Okay, let me not say mistakes yet, because maybe there's a chance that this does all pay off, and then he'll look like a genius, right? But we'll see. We'll see. I don't know, but at the very least, you got to get the company that you're working with. You got to get the name right.
And I'll say this: look, I mean, like I said, obviously it could work out. But I don't respect going from negotiating with Errol Spence to I'm fighting David Avanesyan. I don't respect that at all. And I think that, regardless of how this goes, Errol Spence is sitting there and he's getting, letters from the sanctioning body saying, hey, Ennis is your mandatory Stenonius is petitioning to be is mandatory as well, and also they're talking about Keith Thurman. Any one of those is a much bigger fight than Avanesyan, right?
Yep.
So you're not, even if you sell enough pay-per-views, I don't think that you gain any negotiating power against Errol Spence coming back to the table, because he's going to likely have a much bigger fight than what you've got going on with Avanesyan before you both come back together and try to work this out again.
Yeah. No, go ahead, Mikey. You gonna say something?
Nah, I was just gonna say I agree. I agree. It's look, man, it's documented on this show. Like it's unfortunate. Like B opened the show up. That we getting tired of talking about it because we want the fight, but it just doesn't. It's just one more delay. And listen, being honest, like Bud is 35 years old. Spence is 32. So, is it gonna be one of those situations where, we get Bud at 40, you know what I'm saying, and is Spence at 35, 36, whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's just I don't know. It's just I agree with you, B. Even if you moved on from the Spence fight, there were plenty of fights you could have taken that could have changed the narrative, right? Could have changed this narrative of saying, okay, Bud is whatever people saying. Bud don't want the smoke, he ducking, or Bud ain't box office. That's how you become box office, right? His biggest fight to date is Sean Porter, right? And even though Sean Porter is a formidable opponent, he retired after the fight. So it was he was towards or getting ready to get out of the ring, right? The way you make yourself box office is if you go in there and you fight bigger names and you beat them up, or like Tank, you're just an exciting fighter to watch.
Yeah.
But and that could be Bob. That could have been, to your point, Zay, that Bob has hurt him in that regard because he didn't put him in there with better fighters, better opponents. But I don't know, man. I hope he's doing. I hope he's happy with this move. I hope it pays off. I really hope it pays off for him.
Me too.
Right? I would not like to see him get burnt by this move, but it is something that is head scratching, to say the least. And then watching that live and just hearing him talk about certain things, it's just like, all right, but like, just at least get a tight team around you to make sure you aren't making these mistakes, because you do have the ability to make a lot of money right now, and doing it doing it at the same time as cementing your legacy in this game. So we'll see how it plays out for him, but I do think he looked really, really bad in that. And then him and Spence going back and forth on Twitter, like I believe Spence on what he was saying. I just got this feeling that Spence he don't got to hold no cut cards, right? And it was almost better if, like I was telling you yesterday, Jose, it would have been better if Bud just didn't say anything, right? Because at that moment, it was basically split. It was 50-50 saying Spence is the reason it ain't happening, and 50-50 saying Bud is the reason it's not happening. So we would never know. But now you coming out like that and it just looked real bad. So fingers crossed that we get the fight eventually. I'm just not. I'm not holding my breath on that.
Yeah. All right, so I mean, we'll leave it there. Look, we wanted to talk some Dimitri Bivol, but we'll save it for another episode. Maybe that'll be a quick bonus episode that we put out, like I promised. But look, I'm gonna ask y'all, man. Like, what do y'all think? The audience, what do you guys think about this? There's a lot of boxing channels out there. Shout out to all of y'all, man. Like, and some of these people can break down the situation better than we can, right? We don't proclaim to be boxing experts, right? We are fans of the sport. We've been watching the sport for decades, and look, we watch it as fans, and we like to give it from a fan's point of view. But these are the type of things that do hurt the sport, right? Because negotiations break down, and you're trying to listen to the reasons why, and it all sounds ridiculous, right? To the average fan, it sounds ridiculous. And whether you're team Crawford or your team Spence, because that's how boxing is, right? Like you gotta be one or the other. Okay, like let's say if you're a Crawford fan and you're riding with what Crawford says, and hey man, like I'm with him and he's right to do what he's doing. Let me ask you, are you going to download this app and are you going to buy the fight? It's $40, man. It's cheaper than buying a $70 fight, right? Are you going to support him on December 10th when Top Rank has their card stacked, right? Like, are you going to do it? All right. If you're going to be in Omaha, Nebraska, are you going to go to the fight and fill up where he's fighting? No, stadium or I don't know. Are you going to fill up the arena where he's fighting? I know we're going to be at the other fight December 10th, oddly enough. Yeah, like let us know. Like, are you going to support? And I mean, you could say yes or no in the comments or whatever, but the numbers will come out and we'll see. We'll see if you're really feeling him like that. And this is where boxing purists and fans that like to call people casuals and all that stuff, this is where they need to understand that the casuals are the money makers, right? That's how these fighters make their money, right? Are you gonna put your money where your mouth is? Are you gonna actually buy this? So December 10th, baby. BLK Prime, baby. Let's go.
Turn up.
We gonna turn up.
All right. Because the numbers don't say that you're going to support Crawford. I'm looking right now and it says, yeah, and granted, you always take pay-per-view numbers with a grain of salt, right? I mean, but this says that Sean Porter fight reportedly did 135,000 buys.
Okay,
and that's with a guy who's a star in Sean Porter.
I think for this platform, I don't think they need. I mean, I think if they did something like that, that would be great for them, right? If they got that many downloads and buys, I think that'd be a great start for them. I think if they did half of that, that'd be a great start. I don't know what number they have in mind for it, but I'm just thinking, for a starting, a private platform just starting up, and they got some financial backers. I'm not looking at it as they're gonna recoup all their money in one fell swoop. They have to be looking at it as this plus the Adrian Broner fights, and then maybe some other future fights down the road. It'll help them, and just memberships will help them. That's how I'm looking at it.
Well, yeah, they have to be hoping to convert buys into members because, if they did 135,000 buys at $40, that's $5.4 million, just under $5.4 million. And then you take away the cost of actually putting on the fight. How much are you left with? So it's going to depend on whether or not they have, a war chest, like they say, and then they've just got money sitting there from their investors that they can use to pay Crawford and Avanesyan, because I mean he's going to get paid too, right?
Yes.
Or if they are literally saying, hey man, you need to go out there and push this app because you're going to get what you're going to get based off of the number of sales.
Whew, boy. Either way, I don't think like I said, it would have to do better than the Sean Porter fight for him to go back to the negotiating table with Spence and him having some leverage there. I think this is going to make it a little bit worse for him, to be honest. All right, because he's not Avanesyan. I mean, he tried to hype him up a little bit, say, hey, he's tough. You may not know him, but he's tough. But that doesn't help your case, bro.
Yeah.
All right. That's that. You may not know him. That doesn't help your case. All right. We don't know him. I don't care how tough you say he is. We don't know him. And if you knock him out like we expect you to, like that doesn't do anything for us. So we'll see. December 10th, guys. That's all I gotta say. All right. Any last words before we get out of here? We're gonna wrap this up, and then we'll cover some Dimitri Bivol in the next episode.
I'm gonna say this. I'm looking at some of Crawford's past pay-per-view numbers. I see 50,000. He did 135,000, like you said, with Porter. And then I think Spence with Ugas did 240,000 buys. So just to give you a range, and then, I mean, look, Wilder is reportedly did 75,000, right? And that was, he was fighting his sparring partner. So
Yeah.
And that's low. That's obviously a career low for him. But I mean, I feel like if they can pull 75 to 130 buys, that's got to be a win, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would assume that that's somewhat of the bar, right? You got at least 75K and up to 130. That would be great for them. So we'll see how it goes, man. We'll see.
That would be look, I don't know how many downloads BLK Prime has. I'm looking at the app store online. I see 56 ratings, right? I don't know how many actual downloads it has. I'm looking at Twitter. They have 795 followers. I don't know, guys. I don't know. How are they going to promote this? Where are they promoting this fight?
Right.
Yeah.
and look, this is the quote, right? We don't agree with Bob, right? But when it comes to the fact of Crawford not being the draw, Bob said, and I quote, Terence Crawford is one of the best fighters in the world today, and he's tremendously skilled. Unfortunately, he hasn't been shown to be a fighter that is a draw on pay-per-views for whatever reason. So, I mean, I think again, Bob has some fault in that, of course. But the fact of the matter is that's just what it is. Whether Bob did that to him to start it off, he hasn't recovered from that. So it's just that's just keep that in mind as you're listening to this. We're not hating on the guy. We agree with what Bob said here. He is tremendous. He's one of the best fighters in the world. But that's where the risk comes in because he just hasn't shown to be able to sell a fight.
Yeah. All right. We'll leave it there. Leave us your thoughts. I'm very interested to hear what you guys have to say about this. All right. We're going to get out of here. Make sure you follow us Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Ring Kings Pod. And if you want to support the show a little bit further, patreon.com/LBHTShow. Okay, that is our Patreon for our main sports channel, Lunch Break Hot Take, which we have, we have that show, and then we have Ring Kings Podcast. Also, our guy, Mr. OTR Mike, has his own podcast, Open Mic with OTR Mike. All right, so make sure you subscribe over there and follow and listen wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, and we'll wrap this up, and we'll get to the B-Ball fight shortly. But thank you for everybody for listening. B, are you ready?
No.
He is not ready. He is not ready. All right.
Man, I didn't realize that we were going with the outro here. Hold up. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, man. Hold on. Let me help you out here. Let me help you out.
December 10th, you know what I mean? Tune in to BLK Prime. Black Prime, baby. We in the building. Tune in, y'all. If y'all don't, you know what I mean? Y'all some haters. If y'all do, you know what I mean? It is what it is, man. Support the kid.
There you go. There you go. Don't be a hater.
We in the building.
All right, B, take us out. We will see y'all next time. Peace.